My name is Jason Stanis. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Ignyte Group, and we're going to chat with you with our wonderful client at Rocky Mountain Human Services about really how to do digital transformation with a low-code platform to get just the right solution when maybe COTS isn't the best answer, and really talk about the journey and how they got there. I'll introduce the team here first, or I'll let them introduce themselves. So I'll start with Steve here.
Hello, I'm Steve Selby, Chief Administrative Officer at Rocky Mountain Human Services. I've been with RMHS for just exactly a year.
Hello, I'm Kris Kogan. I'm the Director of Performance and Quality Improvement at Rocky Mountain Human Services, and I just celebrated my 18th anniversary at RMHS.
Hello everyone, my name is Megan Markert. I'm a Product Manager at Ignyte, and I've been working very closely with RMHS on the application you're going to see today that we're talking about.
Awesome, thanks guys. So we're going to talk a lot about Rocky Mountain's transformation journey, right? So, how has low code changed the equation for them? What was it like before? What's been the impact? How has the partnership with both Ignyte and Appian helped enable that transformation? And we're also going to show you a demonstration of some of the capabilities that we've helped to deliver in the field. To get started, Steve, could you give us a little bit of background for the audience on what is Rocky Mountain's mission and what do you guys do?
Sounds good. RMHS is a human services firm and not-for-profit based in Denver, Colorado, and providing services across Colorado. We provide all sorts of human services, and we really want to deliver that in a different way. Traditionally, it's been delivered in a very bureaucratic way, and we're trying to remodel that, and that's part of what's driving us to new software, is the desire to do things a little bit different than other human services agencies.
We started off as a case management agency for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in Denver about 30 years ago. And since then, we've added a lot of different programs. We're serving a lot of different populations. We work with people with mental health challenges, people with homelessness, facing homelessness, veterans in particular, and children and adults through the lifespan with intellectual and developmental and physical disabilities.
Awesome. What's been driving the need for digital transformation at RMHS?
So as everyone finds out, we've had to become more efficient, and we want to become more effective at doing what we do. And so we need a software that really follows the processes that we're developing and doesn't force us into a mold where we're having to do processes the same way as other human services agencies. So we're really looking for that flexibility and being able to adapt processes, and we've had some learning around that as we've tried to model our processes, but that's one of the primary drivers. We also have to integrate with a variety of local, state, and federal systems. So the integration is another key driver of the need to change. Right now, it's a lot of swivel chair, both with internal systems that we use as well as systems that our funding agencies use. And that causes a lot of inefficiency, data quality issues that we're trying to address.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the funders. So we have a lot of different funders with a lot of different expectations of us. And so in our previous solutions, we kind of built one program at a time based on those funder requirements and based on the limitations of the software. We were building process around the software that was available to us to support all of those different needs that the funders had.
On the journey so far for transformation, talk a little bit about what have been some of the ups and downs, and have you guys been on more of a build or a buy path historically?
So we've been through a variety of iterations. We bought a software 2 software packages ago that was very configurable. We had in-house developers that were trying to keep that running, but we customized it to the point where we got stuck. And I don't know if you've ever been there on a software platform where you do so much customization that it prevents you from doing upgrades and you end up stuck. So we went off that to a different software package. It was off the shelf, but really didn't meet our needs. It wasn't as configurable, it wasn't as customizable. We thought that was a good solution at the time, maybe 3 years ago, but we got stuck on that too because it just cannot evolve as fast as we need to. We have enhancement requests that are over a year old that were critical, and we're still doing workarounds in spreadsheets and other systems to accommodate that. So we've been down that path. This time we really looked at, do we want off-the-shelf software? Do we want to build our own from the ground up, which is my background and what I was leaning towards? But really the sustainability, the ability to move fast, the cost, really led us to look at Appian and work with Ignyte around the Appian platform.
At the same time, we're really trying to push to be data-driven in our decision-making, and we want to be able to produce data for our organization as a whole and not just program by program. One of our strengths is that we have expertise in-house at a lot of different areas, but we need that collective, like organization level data to move us forward.
Awesome. We love working there with you guys. What have been, since you've started the journey, we've started on the low-code journey, had a lot of value, right, to help manage some of that risk of doing it on your own or creating a more tailored system. But what have been some of the unique challenges that have emerged on the program, and how has working with both Ignyte but also the Appian platform helped you guys overcome those challenges?
Well, when we started this journey, I think the best thing that we did by far is have Kris take over the development with the long background working in the business, not in IT, but really understanding at a high level where we wanted to go with it, and that's been critical. And then we learned that departments we were sure were talking to each other were not in fact talking to each other, and they didn't really communicate at all, and they didn't understand how the outputs of their process were the inputs of someone else's process. So that has required us to have a lot of agility and to be able to change course as processes develop and evolve as we start to build better communications. We've had to change quickly.
I think that's a great point, Steve, because as we were going through, sprint by sprint, as we were getting closer to the end of release 1, it was suddenly, well, hold on, we have this whole billing team and we want to get them involved in some way, but how do they talk right now? So it was a lot of working sessions and figuring out, well, what kind of data do you need to do your job? And let's figure out how we can expose that.
Yeah. And each department views that they're the center of the universe. And, we're all a team.
Yeah. Well, Megan, you're there where the rubber meets the road, right? Helping to drive the delivery every day. What's been unique about kind of collaborating with the Rocky Mountain team to, compared to some of the other implementations that you've led over the years?
Well, first of all, I think the Rocky Mountain team has been a fantastic partner and very willing to kind of get down in the weeds with us and let's talk through your process right now. Let's talk through where do we want it to be. And some of it might be a bit of a reach. Let's talk down back to MVP and then being willing to say, okay, yeah, well, let's deprioritize some of those features so we can focus on getting those initial features in people's hands, because that's the goal, is to get people to help them out so that they can start doing their job more efficiently, faster, and then we'll circle back around.
And that's something that's been really helpful with Ignyte is I wish we had been at a point where we had these sophisticated, well-documented, consistent, flawless processes to hand over to Ignyte to develop. However, we did not. So Ignyte's been very flexible as we build these processes and adapt the processes to work with us to reprioritize.
Yeah, one of the key pieces of our conversations, Megan and I are meeting every day, are the pain points. Here's the process now, it's broken, people are frustrated, we've got a lot of outside of our existing system spreadsheets being emailed back and forth or not. So it's really refreshing to partner with someone who's able to look critically at your processes and partner with you in a solution.
We appreciate having the permission to do that with you guys and having earned the respect and trust between ourselves. And I think just the role you guys have played as a product owner and the discipline, and it's been phenomenal, right? Hard choices every sprint and what's a priority and what's going to go next, and keeping a level head. Okay, that thing's not going to come right now, and helping us manage the stakeholders' expectations. Yet I don't feel like any of us, I don't know what you guys tell me, I don't think we're managing expectations for your stakeholders overall, right? Like I think people are enjoying and seeing the value in what we're putting together.
Yeah, they're absolutely thrilled. And, the bar was arguably low in our previous systems. But it's really exciting to watch my colleagues and people in the different departments asking, well, what if we did this, and can we try that, and then going back and asking Megan and brainstorming those solutions. So people are very, very excited, even with the initial go live on just a couple of our program areas, and it's generating some real creative thinking about where we can go next.
We worried a lot at first about what the adoption was going to be and getting people on board and trying to get them to embrace the new technology. And now I've reached a point, we're trying to pull back on the reins. We're like, whoa, like we're in the middle of this other release. Hang on just a minute, because they're so excited to get their program and their needs into our systems. That's fun and requires a little bit different pull there.
Megan, why don't you show us a little bit, or kind of help us narrate through some of the big capabilities that we've rolled out. And Steve and Kris, if you want to kind of commentate and add any thoughts as we're going, please do.
Sure. So we recorded a couple screens for everybody here today, and we're starting out with one of the key personas that we developed for Release 1, which is our clinical case manager. And so here you can see, the dashboard that they see right when they log in, and we're really focused on pulling all the data and all the different places we need to go to right from that one dashboard. So we have key performance indicators, KPIs, right across the top there that we can drill into and see, what's the data that's going into those KPIs, and we can go and see and filter on that. And we can also see on the left, there are some page filters there. So as a manager, I'm managing different clinicians and their workloads, and I want to be able to report on and see that information for the individual clinicians as well. So kind of dynamically being able to see, well, I want to see Carrie's caseload, or I want to see Charles, or I want to see both at the same time, to report on that dynamically.
So the clinical team is one of about 20 programs that we have at RMHS, and it's somewhat unique in that a typical EHR wasn't going to work for us. The majority of their clients are 0 to 3 years old. We've got occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech therapists, psychologists, and behavioral specialists. One of the components of an off-the-shelf EHR is around prescribing medications, and we don't do that in our clinic. So we would be paying for a lot of features that we didn't need.
One of the things I'm most excited about with this is that it gets the data on your daily work in front of you at all times. So to understand what you're looking at for your workload, how it's been going, what errors might come across, they can see that all from where they normally do their work, versus having to leave this Appian system, go to a different reporting system to check the reports and then flip back. It's right in front of them all the time. Kris has done a great job of trying to drive our programs toward being more data focused and using data in their day-to-day operations. And to have the data available in real time is just essential to that.
Yeah, one example of that is that the clinicians are charged with pretty strict productivity standards, and there's a high amount of no-shows and cancellations in that population, and so that really affects their ability to help children meet their goals and for their own productivity standards. Having that on the dashboard is huge for them.
Mm-hmm. So let's move on to the next little video clip here, where we're going to show off entering a client note, entering a new note for a client. So we've had a visit, we want to log that activity. So this was something that was really important to focus on, because there's so many different validations that the previous system didn't have, and so there were a lot of issues going back and forth with the rev cycle team in actually billing these notes. And things were tracked a little bit more, spreadsheets, emails on go fix this note for this problem or anything like that. And so we built a lot of that into the note itself when you're filling it out just from the first time there.
And that billing interaction is really one of the key things that we're trying to address, because all the work that the clinicians do, we have to bill for, and that without validations and without a lot of the sophistication that our Appian system has, there was a lot of spreadsheets, access databases. I think there were 12 different access databases, emails, to try to reconcile billing information so we could get that billed appropriately. And now we can reflect right in the application if you have billing errors, comes up in those KPIs, and you can go fix those right away. And that'll help us a lot on the revenue side, because we can get those activities billed more quickly and get that revenue in quicker.
Well, you guys alluded to earlier that this represented a pretty significant process change for you guys, right? And training and adoption is always part of any of these digital transformations. How did the UI, the experience, and the overall solution, how did that translate into the training process for you guys? How did it go?
Well, there was a shift because it wasn't just using a new tool, but we were able to shift the business processes to make them more intuitive for the clinicians, make them kind of follow a more linear flow for them. So that's one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we've gotten from the clinicians. So in training, my team partnered with the clinical trainers. We were training on the tool itself, and the clinical trainers were training on the change in the business process. So it really gave us a great opportunity to make things more intuitive, more efficient for them.
Yeah, and on the note of that communication with billing, the next little clip, Jason, if you can move forwards, this is that billing dashboard where it doesn't need to be pretty. We want to see a lot of data on this page so that our RevCycle users can go in and get the information they need and build those notes. And then in here, we're saying, okay, I've billed these 2-3 notes, they're good to go. Or we can drill in, update that billing status and say, hey, there was an issue with this note for XYZ reason. And then that information goes immediately over to the clinician, and they can see that information and make that change in the system right away, same day.
And when things are being billed or are sent back for corrections for billing, all of that, we've increased the visibility. In our old system, revenue cycle would extract the notes. The clinicians didn't know which notes were being billed or not. They might go in and change notes in the midst of a billing process, and it would cause kind of a mess for them. So now it's really clear to everyone in the system, oh, this note's in the process of being billed, or it's being sent back for corrections, and so it's much smoother.
It is, and it's really, for us, highlighted some challenges between our billing department and our clinical department, and that they weren't communicating well, and they used totally separate tools, and that those tools didn't really intersect very much, except for through a dozen access databases. So by bringing them together, we were able to highlight a lot of inefficiencies in the process, a lot of bad assumptions that were made, and it's just resulted in overall process improvement in addition to the software.
Well, I mean, you said it's billing related, right? So I imagine that's probably helped you guys on a bottom line. Has that
For sure.
been the case?
Yes, absolutely.
And so the last clip is circling back a little bit more to the clinician side, where we're looking at filling out a treatment plan for those clients. And this is something that previously was not done in any system. So we're bringing that in, and it's a very tailored experience for the clinicians for exactly the kinds of treatment plans they are filling out for these kids in the system.
This is a really exciting piece for me, having this connection between the treatment plan, the goals that are set for the child, and then having the notes from the clinician at each encounter connected to that. Now we're really looking at, where are children more successful in meeting their goals? Where are the trends? Where are we doing well? Where do we have room for improvement? And looking at that across, our organization.
It really helps us to align that process and data and people in a way that supports the program. Before, process and data were separate things, and in a sense kind of unrelated. And now they're in the same place, and they are the same meaning, and we really get a lot more value out of our data and can use that to improve the process.
Well, yeah, we're close to time, but we'll give a few chances for you guys. Like any words of wisdom or advice you'd want to give to others that are on a digital transformation journey as well, and making these kinds of judgment calls between COTS, or maybe trying to go and be bold and use low code to build a more tailored approach.
It's interesting, our board of directors, when we brought this program to them and the cost, they said, you need to spend at least that and maybe more, because technology is the future of your organization. If you don't have good technology, it's going to limit what we can do in the future. And I think that was very true. Well put.
On the program side, I'd say just don't be too married to your existing processes, because there's probably room for improvement.
And to take that opportunity as you're developing software to also look at the process, and that's where Ignyte's really been willing to get in and explore those opportunities to do process improvement as you're developing the software versus building software around a broken process. It just makes that process go faster.
And Megan, we always try to take lessons learned and sharpen the saw, become better at what we're doing. What did you take away as the leader on this engagement?
I think really the main takeaway for me is a little bit what Steve and Kris were saying, that we got a little bit too detailed too quickly, and it was like, well, hold on. There are actually some process changes we want to make, so we had to kind of put the brakes a little bit and take a couple steps back and say, okay, there are a couple things in these one process that maybe aren't as important as some of the other things that we still want to get to. So taking a step back and looking at the whole tree, the whole forest, instead of some of those individual trees.
Or individual leaves, potentially, in some cases. If you talk to the end user, and there's huge value in this, talk to the end user about what they want to see in the software, you're down at the microscopic level. So it's benefit Kris and Megan have had to the organization is bringing that up and taking that microscopic view and also the global view of that all of our processes aren't that different.
Right.
Well, I think I'll ask you guys one more question, and then we didn't have time for Q&A for you all, but we'll all be back here after if you guys want to pull us aside and ask us any questions. But our closing question for you guys is, so what's next on the journey for Rocky Mountain here?
I think we've, from my perspective, seen a lot of the opportunity in the software, not just around our core case management, but all the other software packages that so closely interrelate. So we have a contracts module that isn't part of our core business, but it's so tightly integrated that I think as we move forward to think about different interrelated systems and software that we can either integrate with or include in our Appian build.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for your time today. We really had enjoyed the opportunity to share our story with you guys and share the successful release we've had with Rocky Mountain. A couple PSAs for us. Tune in tomorrow morning to see how our team member from the Rocky Mountain engagement, actually, Liam Caracciolo, how did he do? So watch the keynote tomorrow morning. We'll see how he did in the live build challenge. And then come visit us at booth 406. We'd love to show you any of the solutions that we've put together or chat with you about your needs. And also, please rate this session in the mobile app. And we'd love to get your feedback on how we can better tell our story and make it engaging content for you guys. Thank you all.